Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Russell County Board of Supervisors meeting, April the 12th, 2021, at 1 p.m. I would like to first start off with call to order and roll call. Tim Lovelace.
Here.
David Eaton. David said he was on his way. Steve Breedy. Horace Christian.
Present.
Luann Wallace.
Here.
Carl Ray. Carl also said he is on the way. Rebecca Dye.
Here.
Ma'am, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Let's stand for the invocation. Remain standing for the pledge, please. Thank you, dear Lord, for giving us another day. Thank you for the blessings that you've given each one of us. Help us to make the right decisions. Help us to understand that you are the leader. We are your instruments in helping guide our county. Watch over our nation, our state, and the local county, and help us to understand you are who. Help us make the right decisions for our people. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, the first thing I need a motion, please, to amend the agenda. The school system has called and asked us to do a quick resolution for them. They are working on their ag building behind Lebanon High School. And with that, with the construction, they do need a pump and haul permit, and we do need to help them with that. So at this time, could I have a motion to amend the agenda to add it as number 1 under our new business so that we can.
That motion.
Thank you, Oris. Do we have a second?
Second.
Tim? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, we will add that as number 1 under our new business. All right, then, Lonzo, do you have that? Would you like to read it or give a brief synopsis of it, what the school is needing?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. This is a letter from the Russell County School Board to the Russell County Board of Supervisors. This is from Alan Addison. We met with Brian Stanley at the Virginia Department of Health concerning a fill and pump septic for the new agriculture shop at the Lebanon High School. Due to the distance to connect the existing sewer, he has allowed a pump and haul tank. Mr. Stanley is requesting a resolution from the Board of Supervisors to the Department of Health. The resolution will include the agriculture building at the Lebanon High School and the baseball concession stand at the Castlewood High School to the Board of Supervisors existing permit. This is they're working with Bill Skeen to obtain the written plans for the placement of the tank, cap, and alarm. This plan is required by the Department of Health to obtain a permit to install. VDH needs the resolution and the plans to issue the permit for installation.
We may need clarification. I'm reviewing this, and they have it to as number 2 for the concession stand at Castlewood. So is there 2 components to this?
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
yes, and that's the permit.
this is just for the permit.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll clarify that. My understanding it was just for the ag building. So do I need to just say that this amended agenda is to include the resolution for the permit, not
Yes.
just one place?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. All right, any further discussion? All right, do we have a motion to accept this resolution for the school system for their permit for pump and haul?
So moved.
Thank you, Tim. Do we have a second? Thank you, Oris. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, will give the school system this permit for pump and haul agreement. All right, the second item, and I hope our gentlemen can come on in, get here. Mr. Eaton and Mr. Ray, they did call that they were coming. We will start the fiscal year 2022 financial budget workshop. Lonzo, we'll open the floor for you to start presenting the budget to us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. First, from the FY22 budget, as the memorandum states, from myself to the Board of Supervisors. In this budget year, of course, due to the financial condition of the county, plus in addition, combined with the pandemic, this has been a very unusual budget year that we just went through, and the one that we're getting ready to go into. In the previous budget workshops, what the Board of Supervisors, of course, reviewed every, expenditure line item between the revenue and the expenditures to, come to an agreement between this one. This meeting, due to the pandemic, and, all line items are important to us, especially in the donations, and y'all will have time to take a look at these on your own, because this is the first budget workshop. We can come back, but what I wanted to touch on today was the big issues in the financial budget considerations that we must address that will impact the larger financial impact of the county rather than the small budget items. So as you can see in the cover letter, that it says, once again, it is time for the financial new fiscal year in the budget review process. We've almost completed the 2021 budget and beginning the FY21-22 budget process. The county budget departments have done an excellent job even during the pandemic, so I'm giving out a shout out to them during this time, because this has been a very trying time under unusual circumstances. So throughout, and also one of the things that I wanted to point out, that throughout the fiscal year, the Budget Finance Committee has continuously monitored and worked with all of the departments. And they looked at the budget line items, the expenditures, and that includes the CARES for compliance with local, state, and federal regulations. We did finish up the first portion of the FY19-20 budget that had some of the CARES funding, and it has already been audited, and we have been given a clean audit by the feds on the first component. So now that we're proceeding into FY21 and 19-20 and 21 budget year, we expect to do the same. But as we all know, that the state of Virginia and the national economy continues to challenge us financially, and the FY21-22 budget year may even be more challenging to the county due to the COVID pandemic and what we're encountering. The final considerations through the budget as we go through it, first of all, is the statewide salary increase. This was given by the governor of Virginia to all Constitution officers and school teachers. The second one is, of course, the state of Virginia also increased the minimum wage. The second thing is the cigarette and meal tax. And then, of course, the impact to the regional jails, the G3 impact. The G3 impact is the state's share of tuition in conjunction with our RACE program. The next one is, of course, the county's leche operations. I'll get into a little bit on that, on what we're proposing, and it's, of course, at the board's consideration, and also the disposal operations on what we're going to be doing within the next 12 months on those. So I have included a draft of the FY22 financial budget, which, again, it says that shows all the budgeted revenue and expenditures. As we proceed through them, that, one of the concerns, of the county is during the pandemic, and one of the things that we have been very sensitive to, especially on the Commissioner of Revenue and the Treasurer's Office. During this time, we worked with, of course, the Russell County residents on personal property and real estate taxes as setting up payment plans. We knew during the pandemic, there was many of the residents that either had financial, impact to their family or their jobs. So if they, we worked with them to make sure that they were not worried about their real estate at the time. We set up payment plans or their personal property. That way we could work through them. And this gave an opportunity to proceed into the new year. And a lot of times with the impact from the federal side on the supplement money, a lot of residents have, come in and approached and took on their responsibility and paid their taxes on time. They paid their personal property on time. And the ones that are having those small portion that were having financial difficulties, we are working out a payment plan with them. So we are, but it is an impact to the county budget. Of course, everyone knows that of the king and queen of taxes, what we call them in the financial side, real estate is the largest revenue component that we have in the county budget. It is number one. Of course, everybody that knows that personal property is number two. And then, of course, that we have machine and tool is number three. And sales tax is number four. Those four make up over 80% of your budget right there, just those four line items. So along with what we have worked with on the federal government side during the pandemic and tried to take care of Russell County citizens during the pandemic and putting out masks and giving extra funding to the rescue squads, the first responders, the fire departments. We gave donations to the food pantries. These are things that Russell County Board of Supervisors felt that were very important for community safety net issues, to make sure that our citizens of the county received what they could within the guidelines of the program. So as we continue through this, another thing that must be considered, this is the new fiscal year. Number two is, as we can work through this, there is also another relief package that has been approved by the federal government, that the American Relief Fund. So from that, you must consider.
We don't have finalization on that yet, do we?
No, ma'am. The last word that we got is the federal government has passed it. It will be sent down to the states, and each state, due to the pandemic, has different circumstances. So they will be deciding how they can best expend this money within each state. Some of them, like, we're not as big as New York, of course, or California, or et cetera, but the state of Virginia is different. So what the federal government did, they give the autonomy to the governors to be able to manage down to the localities, the municipalities, and towns of that funding. And the last word that we received on the schedule on this is that the governor's office should have something to the localities and the governing boards by the middle of May. Now this relief funding is different than the CARES. It is more focused on infrastructure. It's not focusing, it is of course focused primarily on COVID first, but it is morely focused on infrastructure projects. So to take us through, number two is this funding also has been approved over a 2-year period. So whatever we are awarded, this will be spread over a 2-year period. This is to help sustain the counties, the municipalities, and localities over a 2-year component rather than a 1-year component. So for example, if we receive $4 million, we receive $2 million in July of this year, and we'd receive $2 million in July of next year. So it will be spread over a 2-year component to be able to pull us up economically over 2 financial budgets. So that is a good thing. So as you have time to go back and review, the I think it's 61 pages of financials from the revenue side and the department side in expenditures. You will see that Russell County Board of Supervisors has taken the flat level budget. We have not increased anything in this component other than I have written into the budget is the increase in salaries. Now, let me explain that, and I'll lead into that component also. So, of course, again, the state of Virginia has given 5% to all the Constitution officers, and that includes the Sheriff's Department, the Commonwealth Attorney, Commissioner of Revenue, the Treasurer's Office, and the School Board. Now, the School Board has their funding that they take care of that is funded by the state of Virginia. On the county side, we have our Constitution officer side. That will also be funded by the state of Virginia. That 5% of all Constitution officers will be funded by the state of Virginia. The second component is what we have in the county as what we call support staff, that are county employees, not Constitution officers, that we pay for on our side. And that's what the 5% that we have estimated into the budget to be able to complete. That way, the Board of Supervisors y'all have done since you've been sitting here is to give a flat, across-the-board raise to all employees. That's the way y'all have done for the previous years, and this is the way I developed it in this one. So right now, I have the Constitution officers, which were easy. That's what we get 100% funding from the state of Virginia on that. But I also had to pick up the county side for the 5% of the county employees. So everyone will receive the same amount. So, and again, as I'm talking, feel free to, if you got questions about as we're going through each and everything that we're dealing with. Yes, ma'am.
How many currently do we have as considered to be county employees?
Right now, between the full-time and the part-time, which we do full-time and part-time, we give a raise to both. If you're a county employee, whether you're a full-time employee or a part-time, we give that 5% raise. Between both full-time and part-time, and I can break it down to FTE or not, we have approximately 67 employees. Yes. No, that's just the county side. Now, what you got to remember is that 67 is very broad. A majority of those, 22 are part-time. That sounds like a lot. Yes, ma'am. That was the last one. So here is the thing about it. Now, those are not, the remaining full-time positions are not in my office or the county's office. They are supplements to their deputies, their security at the courthouse. They are
Trash.
Yes, they're trash. They do disposal. They also supplement the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, the Commissioner of Revenue's Office, the Treasurer's
Custodial
Office.
work, custodial employee.
Yes. So that, between that and the number of employees that we have in the county, that gives the 5% across the full-time and the part-time, so. Yes. I wish they did, but no, they don't. Since those are county funded, but the point that I want to make sure very clear on, those are not the Board of Supervisors employees. Those are mostly ones that you gave to key component departments, the courthouses, the sheriff's departments, the commissioners, the treasurers, the disposal. Those are the ones where those are at. So, I mean, if you look at our facility on maintenance, I got three personnel takes care of the whole county. That's it. That's it in maintenance, period. The rest is supplemented by the community work program. There is not a contract in the county for any operations like mowing. It's all handled by community work program. Our litter program is done by the community work program. Our additional house cleanings that we do to fill these facilities that we have very little, or its majority of it is community work program. From the courthouse to this government building is cleaned by the community work programs. The community work program is done through their probation rather than being put in jail. They have worked out with the Commonwealth Attorney and the courts to perform their services and services. Yes, their time. That way they pick up trash, they clean our facilities, they mow our grass, they weed eat the ball fields, etc. These are the things that are done. Yes, sir. That is exactly correct. It is a good thing. So,
But now, we do have to, payment has to go to the officers that are with these folks. So that needs to be clarified too here, with Mr. Christensen, that even though the program is not paying the work program folks, it does pay the officers, does it not?
it does, but even to make it even better than, even the community work program itself, we have one program manager that watches the community work program, and she manages those. And we have what we call part-time, previous deputies that oversight 2 working crews of between 6 to 10 men at a time, or individuals, male and female. But one of the things that the program manager has done in the community work program, we actually have a grant to pay for the 2 additional part-time. So she is the only one that we have to pay out of our revenue base, or our taxes. So she works very diligently with the federal side, and she gets grants to be able to pay for these deputies that work our crews. Plus, they donate their time to pay off their fines and their time. So it is a great community program. But the point that we're trying to make is, what I don't want confusion, about concerning the employees, is that those 60-some employees, by the time we take our full time out, again, are dedicated to core positions within the county. So, and one of the things, if you've had an opportunity to look through, our total revenue has increased only by 0.9 tenths, and that's as you go through the local revenue, and as you go through the revenue from the state of Virginia and the rest, you're looking at 0.7%. That's it on the revenue. And of course, when we go through and add in to the expenditures of the county, even including the 5% pay raise, we have only increased the budget by, I think it's what? Hang on just a second. Let me get this up. As you can see on the screen. On the total general funds. I apologize for technology. That is on page 59 of 61. As you can see, and that's the point and I'll come back to this sheet, of course, 0.8%. That's the total impact of the 0.8% is what the cost to the raise, whatever we've increased on operations. As everyone knows on the board, since this time, we've had enormous cost increase in disposal operations. Trash, we've almost, our trash just went up 25%. That's a good thing. They're out there, they're buying things, but we do have the trash we have to pick up. So we are gaining it in sales tax, so one not kind of offsets the other. So as we go through it, as you can see, 0.8%, and after we have included all of the 5%, as you can see, throughout the financials, I apologize, I'm getting up to the screen, as everyone can see, the 10%. Right now, we have budgeted out the total general fund at $26,246,728, which is, again, an 0.8%. That's the increase, so, between this year and last year. And that's taken in consideration, going back to what the beginning of the conversation, that on the real estate and the personal property, people are still paying their payments. We are running low, as I'm getting ready to show you. We, on our real estate, it is lagging behind, and we are working with them, and they are working with us. So, as you can see, this is the on the big screen. I have it highlighted in blue right now, and this is the budget that I just ran on the current real estate. Currently, we're running 4.83% behind where we should be on real estate. And that it equates to $182,439.32. That, again, that is the king and queen of tax. When these go down, you do notice it. Now, where we are increasing, where we're picking up at is, of course, whether everybody's, buying stuff, buying for their family, buying groceries. Our sales taxes went up. So when one went down, one went back up. It kind of leveled out. But the total impact, as far as deciding to level fund is the reason. When one went down, one went up, but it's still the same amount of revenue is what is basically the way we say it. If I go back to the previous revenue over last year compared to this year, this is one of the things that last year, this is the variance between one versus the other. Last year, we had $25,998,202. This year, we're at $26,187,115. You're looking at $189,000 variance between two budget years, over $30 million. That's the variance. That's tight. That is one of the things that y'all have done, not just considering the 5% across the board, is y'all have made it, to where we live within our means. What we make is what we spend. No more, no less.
I have a question, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
On the real estate that you mentioned that we're down a little bit on collections, are we seeing absentee landowners, or are we seeing, where is that we're losing that real estate? Are we seeing it because people have left and people are just not paying their taxes? Are they living there not paying their taxes? Do you have a feel for that? Have you all got some information on that?
We do. When we pulled up the list of what makes up to $182,000, it's a hybrid of both. It's the ones that are making the payment plans, have not got to that point yet of paying it off, number one. Number two, we're not seeing a lot of abandonment. I mean, you're not. I mean, if you look in the last week's paper, you will see a page of sale. It is. But what you got to remember, though, those were on the agenda 18 months ago before the COVID hit. So those are pieces of property that had been. But one of the things that we are seeing, as anyone knows, and I don't know how it works out, and why, during the pandemic, the price of real estate has went up. And everybody hears that. These prices are going up. So these houses are selling, and we are selling them in Russell County. They're going up. So between a hybrid of all of it together, of the prices going up, and we are assessing right now on the industrial side and commercial side and the retail side. We're seeing gains in those, in appraisals. But You will have ones that will leave and vacate. You will have ones that are on payment plan that are not able to pay all at once, and they will catch up. And then the ones with the increase that offsets it in the increase in the real estate. I hope that answers your question.
It does, and also, does the majority of the senior citizens in our county, do they take advantage of the discount that they're allowed to do?
Yes, ma'am, they do.
Most people take
Yes, they
advantage
do.
of that discount.
They almost have a personal working relationship with Commissioner Revenue.
I understand, okay.
And the treasurer.
Okay.
They do, and they come in, we help them out. You know, in previous years before the pandemic hit, you know, we actually offered them, you know, tax preparation assistance even on those. But we also work with, even during the pandemic and with the subsidies that we get and the stimulus money that we got, we're still working with the elderly, if they are on a fixed income, to be able to get their property and their real estate paid. And a lot of times, a majority, and I'm talking a high percentile of Russell County citizens, they come in and want that assistance. They say, we can't pay all of this, but this is what we can pay, and that's what we do. We work with them. Well, what the commissioner okay. Not in the predicament, but in all seriousness, the elder that we work with, you know, and one of the things that the Commissioner of Revenue and the Treasurer works so together with them so well is during the pandemic, there was things that were happening with our citizens that were on fixed income, that were retired. During the pandemic, they may have had an incurred cost in medical, you know, insurance or medications. So if they come in, and which they are, so like I said, a majority of them, they work with us, they tell us what the issues are, and then we'll work with each and every one of them. But again, as we look through the real estate and the mineral tax and the public service taxes and the personal property, now one of the good, you know, like I said, as we work through each one of these components, the big four, as I call them, it's like the audit forms. This is the big four taxations, and they set the base for the rest of the budget. Now, what we get in additional funding from grants and feds, that will help sustain your budget also. Again, I will go back to the additional funding that we'll get over the 2-year period. We don't know what that amount is or the terms and conditions, but we do know that it will be 2 installments over 2 fiscal years, and it will go, majority of it will be the guidelines for infrastructure. So that will be something that the board will have to consider later when we have all the details.
I got a question. I know we've worked really hard on trying to get the debt service, on the debt service down, as far as trying to get some of those large payments take care of, so that would help on the budgetary side. How do you have a list of those budgetary items listed that on the debt service, that how close are we to having those fairly substantial debts paid off?
Of course, right now, to start, Russell County is current in all its debt payments, number one. That's a good thing. So, believe it or not, why do I say that? During the pandemic, as well as anyone, I don't care what news outlet you watched, there were a lot of towns and counties and municipalities that were having problems, financial problems. Russell County, again, when you operate on the type of operations that we do, for example, and I'll use this as an analogy, I got 3 maintenance personnel. If I go to the other surrounding counties, they're 15 to 18 people. We heard it earlier this morning. They have their, you know, a lot more staff. We work within our means. We do what we can within our budget. When the Board of Supervisors sets the budget, it by law, y'all are testing to what you collect in either local taxation, state, or federal, you will spend no more. Does that make sense? So that's the way y'all have done since you have been sitting here for the last 4, going on 5 years. So again, back to Mr. Eaton's question on the debt. We're current on all the debt, but we're also drawing down on certain things where we have consolidated the PSAs. Now we consolidated those debt loads to make it one, we got a 3-year deferral for payments on it, which worked out well. We're also taking that money that we had budgeted for the payoffs on the debt, and we're dedicating and focusing that to the payoff of the Board of Supervisors debts, like the Big A Mountains, the Lynn Springs, the Belt Presses, the Swords Creek community centers, things like that. We're still dedicating that debt to get that debt load off while in a pandemic, which is a great accomplishment. Without, again, the Russell County Board of Supervisors, if you go back and look at the taxation base, in 1999, you were 64 cents on 100, and me and the Commissioner of Revenue and Treasurer talk about this. You're at 63 cents on 100 in 2021. 1999, you were 64 on 100. You're 63 cents on 100 in 2021. You're 1 cent less than you were 21 years ago. That's unheard of in any municipality, that financial stewardship, it's hard to maintain while maintaining the level of service. And as we progress through this will take resources by paying the debt load off.
Well, that's one of my questions, because I know we had looked at that pretty deeply as far as once we got the debt service paid down on a lot of those things that we had accumulated. I guess this board had inherited, we worked really diligently to knock some of that down and get it paid off. I know we looked at some of these projects, cost projects that we were going to have to do, like the courthouse and some of these things. So I know, like, an example, the debt service on the government center was extremely high at one time, and
It was.
we've been able to get it down, and it's what do we have, 2 years on it, having it paid off?
Well, you got about 2.5. The payments and the interest and the principal is setting on different times. We divided it up to where we're not paying it all at once because of the cash flow issue. But take it back to the courthouse. By the time we pay off the government facility, the courthouse will be constructed. The first payment will be due. So we're not incurring additional debt.
That's
We're
what
we're
yeah.
keeping the same level of debt. That way, we're not putting the impact back onto Russell County residents.
Well, that's just smart business. I just wondered, as far as the list of debt services that we had, I know we put a big dent in it to get some of those old debts satisfied and get them off our books. So that right there makes up a huge difference in your budget, without having to, incur any deeper expenses.
And those are good points to make. And one of the things that y'all have done, and to put it in terms, is y'all have operated the budget without raising taxes. You have operated the budget by cutting cost. By cutting and paying the debt off, you can take care of the 5% raise. You're not incurring any more taxation. You're working efficiently, operationally. You're working with limited resources, performing the level of services. And we do apologize, and I'll go into the disposal operations later. We do apologize. We are getting there to where we need to be. We're getting to compacted areas and getting the trash down, then getting it consolidated to where we can take care and manage this disposal issue, the trash issue. We will get there, but to get it in place, it's going to take a little bit of time. If you go right now as Russell County, you can go through our sites. You can go through the Lebanon site, the Dogtown site. You can go down to Swords Creek, and you can go even into Cleveland. Take a look at our disposal sites, and then go across on the John Douglas Way side, stop off and look at Washington County. Now, Washington County is double our population and in revenue. Our trash sites is an, you know, to be an accolade, you know, as a cheerleader, they're unmatched. You will not find one in Washington County, Smith, Wytheville, from here to Roanoke, you will not find disposal sites that are way. And we do have we do have more work to do, and we do have more to build. But once we do, we hope this will work. What the operations are to do, and not to continue on the disposal, is we are looking at, in Russell County, we're being within 15-minute drive of disposal sites no matter where you live in the county. That's where we will be when we're done. Kim sitting there back there shaking his head. So that is, we have the locations actually picked out to where you can drive 15 minutes in either direction and have this worked out. So. It blows off. Mhm. And right. And see that as a good point. And during, you know, with the litter ordinance and et cetera, that we've, you know, the issues on it, one of the things I wanted to convey during that time is what you've got to remember, and this is coming back from VDOT, the trash that is on 19 and on 58 and Route 80, that is through traffic. A majority is coming from not your county. And I don't want to just blame it, look at each other and go, it's your fault and it's my fault and it's my next door neighbor's fault. If you go out on 19, and you know I live on 19, close to it, that traffic is 24/7. There's 15,000 cars that run on Route 19 a day. That's the traffic count. 17,000 on 58. There is a lot of trash up and down those ways. The community work program picked up 3 weeks ago. You can already see the trash back on it. And the majority is not the Russell County citizens. It's when they're coming through, and they are stopping at McDonald's, and either, you know, here and then they're going and they throw it out the door. But we have to take care of it because it's within, you know, within our county. We have to do it. But if anybody has been to Washington County, now, and I can tell you, and I know this is firsthand, go across the John Douglas Wayside and look at their county. Look at the trash load through there. Now, I'm telling you, it is bad. And they, you know, 2 weeks ago, they had all their deputies out from the town of Abington coming this way back on 19. They had the sheriffs, everybody out. And I'm still telling you that our community work people can pick up per mile and, you know, per day than any other crew they've got. So they are doing a great job. So not to get back on the trash, but it is a big problem.
Well,
and we will get it fixed, and we will get it fixed.
Something I'd like for the board to look at too in the budget committee is like, say, interest-bearing loans that I mentioned this once before that we looked at a few years ago, is like, you know, you might have, say, I'm going to use an example, 5 loans. Every one of them has interest-bearing on them. If we do a particular project that right now where the interest rates are low, my recommendation would be to take a look at knocking out some of those loans, getting rid of the interest payments on those things, because I know they vary from one to the other. Some are low, some are kind of high. But if we're able to do a particular project and was able to land a fairly decent deal on the interest bearing of that, is to get rid of that interest on those additional loans, and that's additional money that we'd have to pay off the principal base on a particular project. And I don't know how many you know. Do you know off the top of your head how many? I know at one time I looked into it pretty deeply.
When on the consolidation, other than the government facility, that's the major load, dead load of the Board of Supervisors, along with the PSA projects. Now, currently, what we have with the restructuring under the VRA and R&D, a majority of our loans are 0%. So let's start off that. The ones that we do have is 2%. Now, we do have 5 existing loans that are through rural development that we're looking at in the file to consolidate, to bring back under the VRA. We're switching from the R&D to VRA to bring down those 5% to either 0 or 2%.
Well, that'd be a huge impact if you could do that. I know any of those,
Working on that.
okay,
Yep.
that sounds good, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty good deal.
Anytime it's 0%.
Yeah, 0%.
Knock 'em out.
Zero.
is.
I like 0.
And the good thing about also on the courthouse, you mentioned it, the loan that'll be on it, we have a debt load on it, but what you gotta remember, the debt load that is here, it was taken out, we did redo it, but it's at the 2.75% range. Now, what we are looking at through VRA is 2%. Again, you will get, it still will be a less.
Any savings
less,
is
yes.
good savings. I mean, if it's a 0.5% or 1%, I think it's a good deal.
It is. It is. So,
Question,
yes, ma'am.
on our, I think you and I have had a conversation a little bit about it, but I just want for clarity's purposes, the Daint, sewer pump, the sewer station and the pumps, those are, we're paying those off. I know monthly we do that, but how much longer?
On the Daint sewer treatment plant?
Yes, sorry about that.
Okay, right now, we still owe $500,000 on the Daint sewer treatment plant. That was, even in the consolidation, that is under rural development, and that is one of them. So that is one of the 5 loans that I had referred to earlier. Yes.
Well, that's one for an example, that's one that if you could get restructured, that'd be a huge savings for additional project development with that sewer project now that we've, all voted to do. That would give you some additional funding and stuff to build the extra lines and stuff like that.
Yeah, and we'll go into that later. That's one of my lines that goes in with the leche. And we're, again,
Did you work that out?
I don't know about that. But again, back to y'all have not raised taxation. It's either through cost or operations efficiencies. That's the only way we've made it so far since 1999. I mean, you can go through all the records and take a look. I think during John Banks' time, it went up and went down, and it went up too high one year, and they got into all this, and they ended up taking it down lower than what it was to begin with. So it ended up at 63 cents on the 100 versus 64 cents on the 100. But the point is y'all have not, as a whole, have not raised taxes at all. And that's where I'm going to lead into this one. The next topic. Of course, VACO has asked for the 5%. They're giving it, the state's paying for the Constitution in the schools. That comes through that funding. The next one is, as the community, as far as the cigarette tax and the meal tax that has been proposed through all municipalities. Currently, the towns and municipalities can tax cigarettes and meals. They always have had that autonomy to do. And that was one of their biggest revenue sources to what you see as far as the nice, aesthetic lamp posts that you see in town and the nice roads and et cetera, et cetera. But what the counties, VACO, Virginia Association of Counties, did, they approached the legislators, and the laws had passed beginning July the 1st to be able to tax, given the same tax autonomy and authority to the counties that the towns have. So all this time, the towns have been taxing your cigarettes and your meals, and they're driving through your county to get to it, but you don't get part of it. Now, to me, and any other tax authority will tell you a cigarette tax and a meal tax is a luxury tax. It doesn't apply to you unless you smoke a lot, chew a lot, or you eat a lot. So, and hopefully, yes, ma'am, in restaurants. Yes, yes, it is restaurants, and there's covenants that are in terms and conditions that are put into them that we, nonprofits and hospitals and all this. But here is, again, it's a luxury tax, number one. But here, number two, I'll go back to your disposal trash issue. As you're traveling through the county, that they're stopping in the towns to buy this food. They're throwing your paper out on your right-of-way. You're paying to clean it up. So that what they expend at McDonald's down here in Lebanon, the town of Lebanon is, and I'll use them as an example, and they'll have to forgive me if they watch this, they get the food tax off of this. So what they'll do, they'll pull in off of 19, go through McDonald's real quick through the drive-through. They'll go back out on 19 going towards Tazewell County or towards Abington. And when they're done, they get out there to out of the town limits, they throw that McDonald's bag out. And here's where we pick up the cost of picking it up. So again, it's a luxury tax. It relieves any pressure or any financial issue that you have to have with raising real estate, personal property, machine and tool for economic development. And with that combined with your sales tax, this is an alternative. It is a luxury tax. So as you read through the material, again, it comes effective July the 1st. Katie is currently working through the ordinances and the legal issues on it. I'm working on the financial side with Commissioner Revenue and the Treasurer. Of course, these have to be stamped and they have to be done. But it is an autonomy that all counties wanted in the state of Virginia. There is 95 counties in the state of Virginia. All 95 voted for this. This was a 100% across the board from Northern Virginia to Western Virginia to Eastern Virginia, all 95 counties. What they said, the Virginia Association of Counties, which represent us, said to the legislators, if you don't want us to come with our hand out, which we did, we had to come to them. If we run above our tax base, we need money, we need funds to do economic development projects, we need to do community projects. This is one way that they gave the counties the autonomy to be able to compete with the towns. Those nice aesthetic poles, light poles, utilities, streets, this is one way that they put it in place. So again, for your consideration, this is the first budget workshop. So before the next workshop comes together, you'll have an opportunity to look at what we have proposed for the 5% increase and the cigarette tax increase within our budget. We're still even within our means by cutting costs. So take a look at that and what y'all want to consider.
Have you run the numbers on, or have you got with the health department to see, identified how many you have in Russell County?
You mean that smoke?
Talking about like food tax.
Yeah, we do have ranges, yes.
Okay, if I may, I did some research and you gave us all this in our packet last month.
Mhm.
And am I understanding correctly, the town of Honaker taxes cigarettes at 20 cents a pack? Was it 10 cents a pack? Was the town of Lebanon's 20 cents a pack?
Town
Somebody-
Lebanon does not tax.
They're not taxing
No.
cigarettes,
Mm-mm.
just Honaker
Yes,
and the town of St. Paul.
yes,
And they're only at a nickel,
yes.
which I think is a little low. But anyway, so I was hoping we would find a happy medium in there. I didn't look at Tazewell, I didn't look at Cedar Bluff or Richlands or anything like that.
Okay.
Wise had, maybe it was Hayside that had 40, was it way up there, 40 cents a, was it Tazewell's 40?
Honaker's is 10, Hayside is 20.
Okay.
I've got it up on the big screen now.
Lou, I will tell you this. I know we worked with a company in the town of Honaker when that was implemented. We had to produce the labels. We had to get with a company to be able to produce those labels, to give them to the people like the cigarette stores and stuff like
The
that.
vendors.
There was an
Pretty tough.
expense there also. I don't know, at 5 cents, I don't know how they covered the labels. I mean, at 10 cent, it was close.
Well, as what y'all will hear from Katie and
So you
on
need to
this.
find out what's involved in the budgetary side of the expenditure side of that.
That's what the counties have been doing, because there is a consortium
There you go.
in Northern Virginia that was doing a partnership of
Authority,
sorts.
a board.
And they came and we had a webinar about that
Mm-hmm.
back in somewhere, I don't remember, another year or a lifetime ago. But anyway, they were talking about that, and I did reach out and I asked the town of St. Paul how they did theirs. It is an expense, but it's a minimal expense, and
It is.
we have to pay for a patrol officer or somebody that goes in and checks to make sure that all these are stamped and we're not bootlegging and that sort of thing.
That is.
So there is some expense to it, and there is some legal work and legwork to it, but I think what you accomplish with this far exceeds your expenses. I'm all for it. I'd vote today.
Well, and thank you. As and wha- and and what one and one of the things that y'all have to consider is, like Miss Wallace, stated, here is the town of Abington, and as you can see, they started off in 2017 at 25 cents a pack. They're averaging 35 cents per pack. That's what the town of Abington does. Now, again, the reason we don't have a county analysis, we do have the numbers, we do, from the APA, the Auditors of Public Accounts, as you've seen at the top. That's their seal. The towns is the only one that's had authority to tax cigarettes and meals. That's other than Fairfax, so we don't have an analysis. But what we do is this, and we look at the total population. And if I do comparative analysis with comparable populations, that one has to be in Southwest Virginia. Now, the reason I say that is this. If I do a comparative analysis of the population here versus the one in the East Coast, we have more people that smoke and chew than the ones on the East Coast. They're more healthy. They got a better diet. I mean, they don't eat and drink in McDonald's and smoke. So but that I have to say, the reason based off our sales and comparative analysis, though, I have to go to towns of comparable sizes on populations that are within Southwest Virginia's footprint to be able to get a close range. And based off of, what those population bases are and being in Southwest Virginia, then we can get within a range. Like the ordinance says, and I don't know if you've had an opportunity to go through this 100+ pages of the ordinances, is like Ms. Wallace stated, that there is cost incurred. Now, at the discretion of the Board of Supervisors, it will be done by an ordinance. In that ordinance, you will stipulate which department will be over, one, the administration and the inspection of this. And usually, and this is just as usually, that's y'all's choice, is the Commissioner of Revenue has a position because they are taxation as far as the real estate, the personal property, and et cetera. That will be within his office, under his authority. That way, he can go out, inspect to make sure that they are not bootlegging, they've got their seals, they're doing their due diligence. But one of the things of discussing with other counties, or not counties, but other towns that have this, and David, you worked in the town, one of the things that the realtors will do, and we'll do this at the wholesale side, is they will not jeopardize that licensing, because once they can't sell cigarettes, you can bet that's a big portion of their revenue. They will not jeopardize that. That's the most time, and this is talking to the Virginia Association of Counties and the DEA, the cigarette
Well, I know when we listened to that Zoom meeting, they did recommend that we all work together in our locality, as that we would try to fix the tax at the similar area, because we don't want all their population to leave and drive to Abingdon to buy over there. We don't wanna lose that population, so, yeah,
It's just
so
smart
they did
business.
recommend that we work with the Commissioner of Revenue and have someone in place that's gonna enforce this to make sure they do have their stamps. And it is on the vendor to have the stamp, and if they don't, then they can lose their license to sell cigarettes. And we need to work closely with all their little small, convenience stores to make sure that they understand what this is about, what it entails, and how we're gonna work with them. And to kinda have a local group to work together to help offset this so that everybody's on the same page and not
It'd be nice
not
if all
out
the,
taxing each other.
I agree with Rebecca. You know, it'd be good if all the towns, municipalities worked with the county closely to have the same rate. Because if, yeah, they'll lower theirs if ours goes in, or what I'm saying, in a municipality, you might have two or three stores that sell. In the county, you might have 25. You know, once you get out here and you see how many, you know, convenience stores you have. So it'd just be a bouncing ball effect. If you don't work with the municipalities and say, look, you could generate more money if you would look at doing it across the board and still be lower than the other counties, so people would buy from Russell County. I'm just saying, but I think Lou's right. I mean, if the towns are lower than the county, they're going to go to the towns and buy, and they ain't going to buy them in the county. Or that'll hurt one business. If everybody ain't on a level playing field, somebody's going to get hurt.
Well, and that is a point, and it is competition, but let me, also, that came up during the meetings and the conversations with the towns. And one of the things you gotta remember is, you gotta look at the demographics of Russell County when you make that decision. Your traffic flow, again, your traffic flow is on 58, 80, and 19. Now, that doesn't mean you're taxing the residents of Russell County. The majority of them that's coming through is going from one place to the other. What will happen is that you got to be competitive, you know, on this. Make sure that you cover your administration costs, your enforcement costs, and the rest, and being able to get within that range. For example, I can go from Falls Church at 85 cents a pack. That's what they tax it at. Or you can go to, you know, to ones that are comparable, like Charlottesville. It's 55 cents a pack. Now, when you get down to, you know, the town of Abington or something like that, that's you got to again go back to the Southwest Virginia. The reason they're taxing at a higher rate is because of that through traffic. They're high volume. They're not taxing their citizens. They're taxing the traveling public same way the food is. They're getting at ones. So again, the ones that's throwing out the trash, again, is not your citizens. You can ask the sheriff's department that sits out there and, you know, goes up down 19. Now, you do have ones that do it, but a majority of the traffic, you can watch them come out, you know, out the window. They come out the window. But whatever y'all decide in, and that's why the reason I put the table in, you know, if you look on here, and I've got it, I'll say it, you know, 10 cents, if we run the numbers, by the time you get through the administration and the rest, you know, you got to consider all that. So to be comparable. But here's what I'm saying is, the town of Honaker, the town of St. Paul, they could probably be cheaper, because if you're going out there and you're going to go get a pack of cigarettes, you're sitting all the way in Hansonville. You're not going to drive to St. Paul for 5 cents on the pack. You're not going to do it. It is not going to happen. There is no way. No.
What about vaping with nicotine?
This includes vaping and snuff and tobacco, chew tobacco, all types of tobacco. Anything with nicotine in it, and it does include the vaping.
Refers to it as a cigarette tax.
Yes,
But
a
it's
cigarette.
actually a tobacco.
It's
or a
tobacco.
nicotine
Nicotine.
tax, I guess.
It will be. And some counties decide to do partials or hybrids. That's up to them. They do mostly cigarettes and moist, but they stay away from the vaping. But that's because vaping, when it first started, it wasn't that big, but now it's big, billion-dollar business. So billions, not billion, billions. So you don't, it would not be fair to, you know, tax your regular smokers and then the vapors, you know, not being able to be put on the same level field. Because,
How are you gonna do that with the, like the liquid vape?
it is not taxed on the component, it's taxed on the cylinders, you know, that's how it's done.
Okay.
So you see the city of Bristol has 17 cents a pack.
You got a number in mind, or you're playing with the numbers, I know you are.
Yes.
That's your nature.
Mm-hmm.
You're not ready to divulge a number yet?
Not yet. Thanks. Okay, I'll text you. This is how much we need.
I think,
But, 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 and not to be, you know, come out with it, but what I'm trying to point out to you, and the board has always considered, what amount can you do to stay away from real estate and personal property and machine and tool? Stay away. This is a luxury tax. And that's why all 95 counties out of 95 voted for it. They wanted that autonomy to be able to operate on their own without going to their hand to Richmond. Because everything that we did that was not above our tax base, we had to either get it from Richmond or the feds. That's it.
do you have anything on the stickers of the other counties of how much they charge them per sticker to go on the packs of cigarettes?
Of the counties. See, the counties only don't have this in place yet.
Okay, what
Everybody's
about the
coming in.
towns?
They're like
Towns. The
0.3,
towns.
are they like 2 or 3 cents or less than that?
I think so.
For a little decal? It's not much.
Oh, you're talking about
It's
the little stick? Yes,
percentage.
yes.
Like
Yes.
a half a percent? or
Half a percent.
It's minuscule.
Half of 1%.
Because once you start, it's my understanding is once you start producing this little tag of sorts that goes on the bottom of all these, you just mass produce it, and the more you produce, the cheaper it is. But you have to somebody has to keep up with the numbers, and if the Commissioner of Revenue that's gonna come out of his bailiwick, then that's all the better.
And so whether you do it through the wholesalers or through the retailers, again, like Ms. Wallace said, you high volume. I can tell you based off the APA numbers, and when VACO came in, they had DA numbers. They give us a range of what Russell County does. They know, because they know every pack of cigarettes and tobacco product is sold in this county. You can guarantee it. Because, yes, they already have it. They know our range.
Do you know how much some of the municipalities, on the budgetary side, how much they collect?
Okay, well, I do. It was in our packet, but, okay, let's go to, let's see if I got it here. And I had one these are cities, and I'll get that for y'all. Hang on a second. There's John Loftus calling back. Yes. Well, the one that sticks out in my mind is the city of Bristol. And it's highlighted. It is simpler population. It's based off the administrative and what the cigarette per pack is. So. Yes. You got to kind of watch both of them. If you'll go up to where it says tobacco tax, where the sheet I just showed you, the one previous to it, it has the town of Abington. That's their population on the far right column. That's what they collect just in the town of Abington off of 8,100 people, 8,200 people.
Some of these localities do really well.
That's what I said in the Southwest Virginia.
I'm looking at that. Virginia Beach, 10 million.
Yes. And see, that's a luxury tax. They're picking up the ones that's driving through 1958 and 80. Because if you'll look, and we've had, now since this has happened, I've had phone calls, and I've had phone calls from the tobacco outlets in Abington. Let me say that already. They are looking at locations on 19. There's where your volume of traffic is. That's where the tax is a flow through to them. Yes, it's a flow through. It's just a flow through. And they are looking, the one that's sitting out on 19, the owner of the one as you go into the town of Lebanon, the one that sits on the left there at the tobacco outlet, he is looking at locations in Russell County. So they will be coming. So in our volume here, based off our 26,000 plus population, we do have a range for it, but we, again, in Southwest Virginia, we have a lot of smokers, a lot of people that use tobacco products, and this is one way. Same way, and then one I've spoke about is very little about is the meal tax. Now, the meal tax is a little bit different because, it is for restaurants or carry out or on-site food. Now, that we also have a range on it also, if it's for beverage and food and for restaurants. So, and Katie will be explaining all that. That will come in place too as an ordinance.
There's a cap on it, right?
Yes, there is a cap.
Because I know we started out at 2 and went to 4.
Yes.
I think
Now,
went up to 6, and I think it capped.
Now, unlike the cigarette tax, this town of St. Paul and the town of Honaker tax on it. Now, all three tax on the meal tax. So, yes. So you're just being competitive. Now, what it will apply for, the ones that it's got a 6%, sorry, cap on it. It can't be taxed in the towns. So what we have to pick up is what is not in the town's boundaries. Now, what that means is places like Valero and Pizza Plus, Subways, Romano's, places like this, we will pick up that, and what else comes in place later on as they do. Those will be, a tax base for, the county. As hopefully, after all this building and everything grows, we have more that goes in. This is other taxation that will be in place that you can pick up on and stay off the real estate and the personal property. I'm trying to get it in place. That's y'all's decision. I'm just trying to get it in place.
We're paying down our debt load that David's talking about.
Amen, sister.
Okay, then you got your answer.
It'd be nice, for a board of supervisors to say that you had the debt load reduction as well as not raising the taxes. I mean, that's an accomplishment. I mean, to be able to reduce the debt load, how we've been able to do that has just been a blessing to be able to do that and still not raise taxes.
I would like to say, since we're on this topic, I wasn't going to go there, but if we choose to implement this, and we come up with a nice little figure that's going to satisfy everybody, I would like to ask this board to start to consider to look at your tourism authority and to possibly designate some funding, not all, that they wouldn't know what to do with all that, but just a little tiny piece of this funding to go to help support the marketing of the county, and with this, what I consider to be some tourist dollars is in this, because all these people coming through that we're trying to get here is going to be stopping and paying, and they're not going to be asking how much taxes on this, because we have such an influx of people from Air County that goes down to Gatlinburg. Let's use Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg.
I was going to use that as an
Go
example
down
too.
there and look what your tax base is down there. Does anybody stop at the county line, Sevier County, and say, I'm not going in there and buying anything? No, they're in there like crazy. It's incredible. Tennessee has higher sales tax, but you go to the Pinnacle this weekend and it was a mass crowd of people. Now, because you're paying more for sales tax over there than you are in Virginia. So I don't think people really mind sometimes. They're not they're not looking at that. So I don't think this is an issue that we're wallering around here today. I don't.
And I'll agree with you. It's almost back to, they're not going to drive from Hansonville to St. Paul to get that pack of cigarettes. They're going to stop up at Valero, the first quickest place they get to. They're not, because Lord knows that the price of gasoline is going up too now. And so, I mean,
Well,
and it's convenience of
yeah.
time. They don't think about it, like Miss Wallace said. They don't. I mean, the ones that use tobacco, they're going to stop at the most convenient site. They're not going to drive an extra 10 miles and get it. So, and again, based off the geographic location, Route 80, 58, 19 in the county, it's like a horseshoe. They're not going to drive from, Cleveland to St. Paul, to get a pack of cigarettes when they can go to Handy's and get a pack right there. It's just not going to happen.
Well, if you have like Lou was talking about, man, if you have a strategic plan of where you're going to earmark some of that money and what you're going to do for the future of the county, or for the growth of the county, or for economic development, or for tourism, or whatever you do, I think once you look at that and you let the public know, I'll give you an example. I used to tell them down at Little League all the time. I said, people don't mind to pay a $45 registration fee if you want to, but they want to see where their money's going. So we did a huge renovation. When I left, we had $30,000 in the account, but we did that and paid for it ourselves. We didn't ask anybody for the money, but people don't mind to pay you a little bit extra if they see where their money's going. So I think if you demonstrate an earmark toward certain things and show them how we're going to grow the economy and how we're going to bring things here to the county, it makes good sense, because the public don't care. Like, and Lou said it, they don't really mind. When I want to stop in and I get something, I just go in and get it. I pay for it. I don't really think about the taxes part of it. But, yeah, well, my wife does, I'll tell you that. But I think to earmark some of this for appropriations for future projections and future projects is a good idea. And looking at going forward and more, the money could be invested. And you make a good investment, you get a good return on it.
Well, and that's absolutely true. But when we sat and Randy and I talk, and and we look at, okay, one of the things that y'all got to consider, and I keep going back to the Route 1958. This is a pass-through taxation. We went even farther, not just coming into the county to go into the restaurants or stopping to get in a pack of cigarettes. What y'all got to remember is the casino is going in. They will be coming from, you'll pick up Tazewell County, Buchanan County, Bluefield, West Virginia. You will have the flow of traffic here will go up, I guarantee, 20 to 30% coming through Route 19 and 58 out of Kentucky.
So that's where you're putting the toll in,
Yes.
the toll road where they can't pass
Oh,
unless
I thought about that.
they
but
got to
that's
spend so much money. I'm just kidding.
But all of those things combined, this is a way for the Board of Supervisors to continue not raising taxes as you've done, take care of the employees as you have, deliver the services, even though there's a few bumps in the road, which I'll get to later, but it gives you an opportunity to us to move faster on some of these projects. Because one of the things that, the Board of Supervisors realize, the only thing that's standing in our way to doing these projects and these community projects is money. Right now, we have to beg, scrape, bum from the feds to get everything that we get, because, we just don't spend beyond our means. I mean, that's just the way it is. So,
On this tobacco tax, and I know we've talked about that a lot. I do want to say this, and I agree with everybody. If somebody's out, they're going to buy a pack. I am. If I'm out of tobacco, I'm going to get it wherever I'm at. But you will, if we're not careful, we can lose a lot of the volume purchases, because people here do go to Bristol and they do go to Kingsport, and they will be going through Washington County, and they will be going through Scott County. And if we price ours way, way higher, they'll stop and buy a carton, on their way, and we will lose that business. So we just need to keep it relevant with our surrounding counties.
And we had thought of that, and and I'll use Abbott as an example as another. Washington County is going to follow theirs. So so you know about what Washington County's is gonna be right now. So, the town of Abingdon is their big base, it's their main town, that's where it's in adjacent to the casino. Now, you gotta remember, they're gonna go to where they can support. When they put that casino in, there is gonna be a lot of support services that they're gonna have to provide. They either raise real estate, or they raise their sales tax, or et cetera. Because they're gonna have to have extra police, extra security, they're gonna have to have extra infrastructure, they're gonna have to find ways to pay for this. And this is another way that, you know, if we're charging and, you know, the same amount as the surrounding counties, then we can be as competitive. Whether you're coming through Buchanan or Tazewell or Dickinson or Wise or out of state of West Virginia, you go to state of West Virginia and take a look at their tax base. They'll come through here. They'll stop just because of those adjacent taxation. Same way Tennessee, they will be coming. And that's things that you have to consider. Not just the residents of Russell County, it's the way I said on the disposal. Do not, you know, don't focus on Russell County residents and creating this problem. Majority of it is the flow through traffic, and that's the way you're going to pick up on your customers too. So, think for the meal tax and the cigarette tax for consideration. We do have ranges. We're trying to be comparable with the other adjacent counties and the towns, because if you don't, you know, they're going to take it. I mean, that's the rule. There'll be somebody in place to take it if you don't. Same way with the state funding. The next thing on the county budget is the regional jail. That's the third largest expenditure on our budget. Mr. Lovelace sits on that board, and of course, with our community work program, we're able to defer a lot of the costs there. They do it so well that other adjacent counties and other counties around the state actually call and try to get the same model of the program that we're creating. So, you know, if you look at the regional jails in Russell County that's up on the screen, that is our cost. And this is right now, even on these numbers right here, on between the Russell County Board of Supervisors, we pay what we call an operational cost and a debt cost, because that is, we have to pay our portion of the facilities that is there. Now, right now for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022, our operational cost per diem is $922 per day. Of course, right now we're paying $906, and of course the debt is actually went down. This is something y'all referred to too. We lowered our debt. Washington County Board came to the Board of Supervisors back at the fall of last year and asked for a resolution to restructure their debt. Y'all approved it, so we actually decreased our costs at the regional jail from $764 to $728, which is a $24,000 savings immediately. Now that's on 180 inmate census. Now what we're currently running is 160, so we're 20 below budget projections. So, and that is ways that we're also saving money, because every additional day per inmate per day, we're paying an operational cost and a debt cost on that inmate per day. It is more beneficial to the county and also beneficial to our residents that have the opportunity to work on the community work program. Not only do we defer the cost from sending it to Washington County, no disrespect, again, that stays here. And we also get the litter picked up, the buildings cleaned up, and they're able to work with it in this program. So it's a very advantageous program. It pays for itself on both ways. Less labor and less cost. So that's how we work the numbers. I work in conjunction with Commonwealth Attorney and the Sheriff on this. We monitor both sides, and of course Tim, he sits on the board, which is very advantageous, and we able to move those through on both sides. So again, our savings on this, just this year, is another cost savings due to the restructure of the debt that the Board of Supervisors approved and the reduction in inmates that will be going there that we're diverting to our community work program.
Did the city of Bristol ever not jump into this and want to participate to drive the debt cost
I'll
down?
let Mr. Lovelace answer that one.
They're still talking about it, the last I heard, but they haven't. I mean, the regional jail houses some of their people, but they've never really gotten in. And I think it's partly because they didn't do it initially. So there's this question of, okay, what part of this debt are you going to incur? Yeah, so I think that's kind of the holdup. But they're housing people in there and paying us to do it. So.
The next thing on the budget issues is, of course, the regional jail. Now, the G3 impact. Now, you know, I know that's an acronym or acronym/number that the board, that the state of Virginia has used for, you know, partial, and let me pull it up. It's the impact for in conjunction with our race program. As far as right now, currently, the Russell County Board of Supervisors has implemented the race program to pay for 2 years of college for every student that graduates from Russell County. So this is up on the big screen. Of course, you can see now that the state of Virginia has implemented the G3 initiative on its countywide tuition program to assist on it, what students that attend, and these are focused on to the curriculums like for HVAC, you know, technical skills, that the blue collar ones. And these are actually the ones that many of our students wants to do. You know, they go out into electrical or HVAC or mechanics. And anybody's ever hired any one of the three that I just mentioned, you know that you pay well. They do pay well. So what state of Virginia, under this G3 program, they are paying for those blue-collar technical skills, and this is the program to do it. Now, based off of course, Southwest projections, based off of what we contribute in the number of students that we've done, we've had 2 4 years plus the summer's classes. The G2, if we run on the same model, will be an $82,000 savings to our program. So that will reduce our race program by an average of $82,000. Now that is a range because each student, depending upon the curriculum, whether they go in for a associate degree, et cetera, and some of those are covered. We're still getting some of the curriculums that are covered in, and Tim and Rebecca could answer some of those questions. But it will depend upon the student and what they major in. So, but the program is in place. It is, and that's the point for our Russell County residents to take advantage of. So if they want to get not just the 2-year degree to go to a 4-year degree, now our students have an opportunity to attend the trade positions, the blue collar, the HVAC, the electrical, the mechanics, and know that the Russell County parents have a way and a method to be able to get them through school, to get them a good livelihood to live off of, and also stay within the community. So now, any questions on the G3 program? And again, if you've ever hired a mechanic or electrician or a plumber, it costs, and that's their salary. I mean, it is a good trade. It's very respectable, yes. Exactly. That is the truth. The next one in the budget, considerations is the leche operations, and this I have to bring up before the board. Currently, right now, well, previously, the Board of Supervisors approved an additional truck for consideration for, again, to help with, number one, with the disposal operations, to get the trash sites open more, cleaned up faster. So we've now got 3 trucks that will be running operations. But it also has a dual purpose, and it will run the leche. We currently have a private entity that's doing the haul and pump right now. With that will come within the county. We've got the truck to do it. That'll be a cost savings of approximately, by the time which we're going to use our existing staff, so we don't have to hire anybody. That is an $80,000 savings, and again, that's how you're all affording this 5%. So there's an $80,000 savings there per year. So the second part of the formula is that we have to treat our leche, and one of the things that I'm going to ask the board to consider, right now, currently, the town of Lebanon treats our leche, and it treats it at 5 cents per gallon. Now, and we still have a little bit more DQ work to do, a little bit more environmental work to do, but we've already done a couple test runs on the Dank Sewer Treatment Plant, which we'll own till we pay off. Sorry about that. And to be able to treat it there. Now, this is 2 parts. So, first part is to treat it and do it environmentally safe, number 1. Number 2 is you got the Dank Sewer Treatment Plant that will be going from in a future project. Y'all just signed a resolution that's going forward for the catch basin. The sewer treatment plant will go from there to St. Paul. Okay. Now, once that is in place, that still can operate into it because based off the test results, and this is going to be DQs and results, when it gets through being processed based off our volume, we can process it through at groundwater level or comparable to go back into our agreement with St. Paul. Now, currently we pay the town of St. Paul $28,800 for capacity. That's off the sewer treatment in phase 1A. That's in the Castlewood area. They're pumping it in. We have that capacity. So this will give extra capacity with the other 223 customers and whatever we pick up along the route from the sewer treatment plant to the town of St. Paul. So we'll pick up that. So that's additional savings there. So right now we have a capacity agreement, and these are the numbers. We pay $3.50 per thousand to the town of St. Paul. Right now we pay 5 cents a gallon to the town of Lebanon. That's either $50 a gallon, $50 on the thousand, or $3.50 on the thousand. So this agreement with the town of Lebanon was made many, many years ago. There is nothing in written agreement. So we're trying to look at, because we have the debt load remaining on the Dank Sewer Treatment Plant, to find an alternative revenue source to be able to maintain this. What cost do we do to treat at the town of Lebanon, and we can move it to support the operations and the payments till we pay off the Dank Sewer Treatment Plant. So that it will equate to it. Because once that goes offline, and what you got to remember is, when those 223 customers plus the additional customers get picked up, that's going to be treated by the town of St. Paul. That sewer treatment plant will have to have an alternative use, or y'all will continue paying on a facility that will have no alternative use. So if we take the funding that we do, we run 2 million gallons of leche through it. That's our average per year. That equates to $125,000 a year. That will pay the payments on the Dank Sewer Treatment Plant till it's paid off. As Mr. Eaton and Ms. Wallace said, pay off the debt. This is the way to pay off the debt.
Well, it'd take you, 3 years to be knocked out?
Somewhere around there. That's what we're trying to do. But you got to remember, too, you get 2 advantages on this one. We got a truck that will haul the leche. That it totally got rid of the $80,000 pump and haul contract. Number 2 is you got the $125,000 on the treatment that will be maintained. Plus, you also have a truck with an alternative disposal to be able to do additional runs, picking up the as fast as the compactors fill up, we've got an additional truck right now that will make the runs too. So we'll have 3 trucks running to pick up disposals when it's not running leachate. One of the things that you got to remember on leachate, and this is the simple way, it's when it rains. In the majority of the times, it's in the spring or in the fall. Then you'll have your peaks and valleys, as we call it. You'll have your up and down. Some month we may not run but 5 truckloads, but some month we may run 15 in one day. That's usually in the spring and in the fall. We can almost track what almost nature is doing. That's why it makes a sense. So we know that during the spring we get a heavier influx of leachate, which is almost being tested at groundwater. Then in the summer you'll have also a short span that will have a peak on, and then in the fall we'll have a peak on. It's almost 3 peaks and valleys.
Well, the reason I want to go back to the debt service again is projecting these years coming forward that we're going to have to deal with. What are we going to lose? What's the what are we looking toward down in the future? The meeting we had with AEP there in Richmond, they didn't give us a whole lot of promise about the power plant. And in 2023, that's going to be a huge, $800,000 a year impact. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. But that's the reason I'm kind of concerned about making sure we get some of these things paid off. And what are we going to be faced with is my biggest thing, because you don't know from the governor's office in the state what aggressive action they're going to take to eliminate this or eliminate that, and then here we're going to be faced with additional, expenditures or revenue shortfalls. So, I think that needs to be projected in the budget somehow, that this could possibly happen, and this is how we're going to treat it going forward. This is how we're going to take care of it. I don't know if we can take care of a big lick like that right out of the gate, but I know that it's not going to be. They're going to have to pay taxes on some of it. I know that.
All right.
But no, we're going to not lose everything. But we need a projected plan or something going forward to see what we can do with that. I'd hate to look at that, I have it as an eyesore if we can't come up with some sort of initiative idea or something to utilize either the intake on the water or the sewer or whatever it may be in that plant going forward. I know going up in Virginia there, the one they shut down is just sitting there, doing nothing now.
It's
So,
doing nothing.
I know that we're going to be faced when, like with the situations that we've been faced with. All of a sudden you don't receive taxed income or incomes, but the earmarks for some of this funding to put in a rainy day fund to hold back for possibilities that we might lose certain things. I think with these what we're looking at with the taxes or the cigarette tax or the food tax, some of that money's ought to be held back somehow in a rainy day fund. That's just me talking, but we know we're going to be faced with these dilemmas if we're still here. I don't know.
And those are good points. But if just not that we're not sitting back and planning, we know our revenue base right now, what it is. We know that the Russell County Board of Supervisors is not anticipating raising any personal real estate taxes. So we can take that absolutely for granted right now. If you put these cigarette and meal tax in, like we say, it's a luxury tax, and we reduce the cost of what we were proposing here, along with continuous operating efficiencies, along with the debt reductions, consolidating the debt, reducing these other payments, we can live back again to the beginning of the conversation. Russell County Board of Supervisors lives within its means. We're not, again, 1999, 64 cents on the 100, 2021, 63 on the 100. So it's not like that you're out there, just living outside your means, as we say, financially. But again, back to the cigarette and the meal tax, this gives y'all an opportunity as a luxury tax to not raise the taxes on the residents and reward them with the additional projects that you can do. Say if the casino does go in and these other economic development projects come out and we do get extra funding, y'all can look at the tourism projects and the events, and you can look at economic development. But that way, but again, still the bottom line. You'll still be living within your means, even if an issue happens with the carbo plant or the Virginia City, that's the town of St. Paul. This will be additional revenue that's coming to them. Either we all swim together, we all sink together. That's just the way Southwest Virginia works. We got to work together. I mean, not just the county and the counties together. It's got to be the county, the towns, and the municipalities. It's got to be, we have to work together, because I can tell you right now, just from the economic development, you can look at Northern Virginia or Eastern Virginia or Central Virginia, they're developing quick and fast. The businesses are coming in. We have to set and check and go after and work and rework and get, grants. We have to work to get businesses, you got to have things when people want to come, their families want to have certain things. And this is an opportunity for the Board of Supervisors to put these things in place, not for just next year, but for the future. Is there any more questions? And disposal operations is the last. I say the best for last. We, of course, the litter ordinance was passed. There were, we're trying to get in place to get everybody, in compliance with the litter ordinance, and that's one of the things that this is another one I want to put in for consideration now. And y'all will have time to go back and talk to the residents and tell. I would like to have a county sticker put in for county residents. That's my proposal, free of charge. It'll be mailed out with the tax tickets, and it will have a county sticker put on it. That way they can put it in their windshield or back window. That way there's no issue with across the county lines, because we're getting a lot of influx of county trash from others. And David will tell you, no disrespect, Buchanan County, if you're listening, our drill trash is number 2 in the county, which nobody even knows where that thing is at. But Buchanan County residents, that is the second highest trash site in the county. And one of the things it is, we have to account for every load that goes across the transfer station down to the 100th of a pound. So we know where the trash is coming and who it's coming from. If I take every residence in Pine Creek area, Drill area, move them into the Honeacre, we still can't reach that load per household. If we go on that, we are equivalent to a major urban city on the trash site that sits in the middle of Drill. And the same way in Hamlin. That's why we're designed. I spoke with the property owner this morning, and we're moving on it. We have got to get these in place for compaction, get longer hours, get these in place. And this is
You gotta have man sites.
Yes. Man
That
sites.
sticker ain't gonna do no good.
And man
It's like the
sites
chicken and egg
and
again.
stickers, I'm serious, and it will be the county seal. It just what we have up on this, but it's transparent, black and white. It will have the county seal on it, and each vehicle that they have that's on the tax rolls, or if they don't, whether they're a veteran or if they're elderly, they will get one. That way they got one for each car. That way it's free. Or they can come in, show us driver's license, and we can give it to them also for free. So, with a proof of residence or et cetera. But with this cigarette tax and meal tax, we can open these up, build them, get them within 15 minutes, and now it's not going to alleviate the traffic on the right-of-ways, because you're going to have a bigger volume with the casinos. So let us get up a set of standard hours, longer hours, standard hours, and get them manned. Yes. That way everybody knows what they are and where they're and what y'all want to do, and get longer hours and compactions. Because what y'all got to remember is when we don't have manned sites or with compactors on, this is how it works. This is the operations component. An open top 50 cubic yard container may hold 3, maybe 2 to 4 tons, depending on the type of material that's in it. Okay, that's where our trucks are running back and forth to. A compactor, 10 to 12 tons compacted. So we can take 2-3 times more in a compactor than we can in open tops. We could run ourselves to death with these open tops. We need compacted sites within 15 minutes from all the way from Hansonville, Moxon, Hamlin, all the way to Honeacre, down to Belfast and Lebanon, and drill, and and Copper Creek.
Well, I tell you, you know, before you do the stickers, you're gonna have to have a plan to make sure these are all manned
Yes,
sites.
and that's what I will agree with you.
I wouldn't do the stickers until I had this plan in place,
Yes.
because nobody gonna be there to check you out.
Well, and with the funding, it is, and right now on the building, and to go back to it to understand the cost, like, and I'll use the Hamlin site, for example. Okay, by the time we get it to keep the cost down, we do our work in-house. It's not like a contractor comes in and builds it. Those are built by county employees that are being paid where they build, if they are here painting a wall or doing whatever, they're still paid the same thing. We are building them in-house, so we keep the cost down. But what we have to do when we buy these compactors and to get the investment on the capital equipment, I have to wait for the cash flows, because that's extras. That's something that we have to work through. We get that one built. Our next focus is on the drill area. That's the next component. So that's where we have to go based off the tonnage. And then, of course, Mr. Lovelace has asked for the area around the Copper Creek area. We have a preliminary on the census right now. We know all the households within each quadrant, each block on the draft right now. And and I would never anticipate there's over 3,000 households in the Copper Creek area. Who would ever thought? I mean, you don't know where it's at until you look around. It's all up around, again, I'm going to go back to 1958 and 80. All of our developments and housing is following the 58, just like the water on on Buzzard Roost and the rest, and Copper Ridge, 58, 19, and Route 80. That's where everyone lives. That's the majority of the population. That's where they're focused at. So that's where we have to focus our, not just the water sewer, but also the trash. That's where it's got to be.
Well, I will tell you this. I mean, I've seen these guys run their cycle and go out and pick up the garbage. And it don't make no sense to me if they're going to run the cycle and they only pick up a half a container when they should be picking up a full container. I mean, I think that with the money that you could save in fuel cost and a lot of that cost is to have, like you said, these compactors and having it more trash in one can, where these guys don't go out in one area and they just pick up half a load and they have to ride it all the way back down there when they're going out to one area and they're picking up 3 loads. I mean, I don't know how you fix all that, but I will tell you this. I know it's been very complicated to them, and I'm sure it'd make their job a lot easier if you had everything compacted together. It'd give you a more traceable way to do things.
Well, and that's a good point. Now, it's like in Miss Wallace's area, down in the Hamlin area, we get calls on it now. But based off the trash site, which is adjacent to a railroad, owned half by the railroad, okay, we can't do much with that site. One. Number two is, it was designed, you can only put 2 cans out at a time. Now, based off the volume, those 2 cans running Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and on the weekend, they'll fill up in a half a day. If you're running open tops, again, you're only running 2 to 4 tons on that thing, because that's all you can get in them based off what it is. Now, if they throw in, larger debris like TVs and mattresses and stuff, you're coming and picking up stuff that can be compacted and contained and manned. And when it goes to that site, for the future Hamlin site, there will be a recyclable. There will be open tops and adjacent with compactors. That way we can take care of the household refuge in the compactors. The TVs and box springs can go in the open tops, and what people want to recycle is that. Here is the analysis on the true last numbers, and I heard the disposal site mentioned in the Carbo place. Now, when we were running down there, we ran 4 loads a week at the Carbo site. Now we run 2. now that we're compactors. That's how, 2 loads, that's it. Our tonnage is compacted down. You will get it down, but here's the easiest way, and we're working on another project. The easiest way to get the project, but you gotta have the money. It's not doing the project. The hardest part about project is the funding to do the project, and we've been doing it in-house with our own crews, and it takes longer than expected. But if the funds are available, we can move, and we can move these things faster.
Well, and another thing, when you got those compactors, you're gonna have to be able to fix those things, pretty quickly. And also, if not, you're gonna have to have some open tops there to throw that in if that compactor's not working. I mean, and we need to have extra parts, I think, and we need extra parts there so we don't have to wait on order or some, what we got from what we got coming in.
And that's true too.
Yeah, that was a question that I had, because I've had several complaints about some of the compactors that's been down and not being taken care of, and I don't know, I'm just getting that second or third handed from some community folks. So is that are we having issues with that? Since Carl brought up parts and pieces, we need to make sure that we're running efficiently, as my group in the back says, but also that they're actually functioning. I don't know.
Well, one of the things about the compactors is once you order them, they still have a warranty on them a certain time. Now, we've had, and I'll use Dogtown as the example. We had Dogtown down, and we had to rebuild it. But I'm not going to use this as an excuse, but it has taught us lessons. The pandemic, it's hard to get certain parts right now. I'm telling you right now, and it's hard. Even if you have the money, you can't buy them. And if it is, it's in the delay. Those specialized parts, because the manufacturers, not just with compactor components, but any kind of machine and tool components, is being delayed. As we get all these things compacted, which we do have parts on hand, and Brian keeps things, we will. And what we're trying to do, again, to save the county money, is like on the compactor, the hydraulics and the motors, we can't have a $2,000 or $2,500 motor sitting around, that we can build up a major inventory. We ain't got $10,000 to go out and spend to buy 5. So what we'll do is we're kind of fix them as we go right now. But as these get more consolidated on compactors, we can start saying, okay, every one of our sites are manned and they're compacted. We can start putting these motors in place as backup or rebuilds to have them in place when one goes down. And that way we got a quick change in and quick change out. Yes, we will get better at this.
We need to look at a company that builds them and makes them and
We do.
locate them here in Russell County.
Well, we do have the manufacturer that builds these, and the one at Dogtown, even they are having, with their buying power, like I'm going to use the Dogtown. We had the compactors down there to go down and the compressors, but even they couldn't get the parts, and they buy nothing but compactors.
Has anybody talked to any of these companies that we brought into the county, like Jim Marr and Steel Fab? And I use a lot of hydraulics equipment. And I just wondered, has anybody talked to them and see if they might even have an interest to look at manufacturing the parts and pieces for this equipment? And the compactors, they're capable of, if they can build a round tank, they can build a compactor.
Right. And see, that's some of the things that we not just on the compactors and the extra parts. We also are very conservative with, the taxpayers' money on the number of cans. That will also alleviate the process as right now, what we've got in our inventory, we recycle, we repaint, our community workers repaint them, we scrub them, we rust them, scrub them down, sand them, and keep them operational. But as we get to more compactors, we'll have additional cans that's sitting out there. Instead of 1 or 2, we can have 4. Our capacity will go up.
Well, they might be able to design something totally different that would work more efficiently here locally in the county. I don't know, but it'd be worth having a conversation with them and taking them one and showing it to them and asking them, can they manufacture?
And that's one of the things when the Dogtown site down, the manufacturer of the compactor didn't have a serviceman in the area.
They're out west, ain't they?
Yes, number one. Number 2 is the one that came in did not have the skill set to fix this one. So we actually had to find one in Bristol. That's close as we could find one, and it took us a little while. But the pandemic did teach us lessons on trash, and the good point is on the inventory on backup motors and parts and components, and because we were used to it on pre-pandemic and not having to worry about parts because we're almost like Amazon. If I need a new motor, we could get it in 2 to 5 days. It'd be sitting here. Now, when you call, it's like a truck. The truck that y'all just bought, that y'all approved back in January, will not be available until August. That's a truck, a full compactor truck. It will not even be even here until August.
Well, I know you got a lot of talented people here in Southwest Virginia that built a lot of mining equipment. This whole area was developed in building and manufacturing mining equipment that would drill through a mountain and produce coal. And I mean, if you was able to, if they seen the need, they might be able to build them here, and we'll ship them out there out west and not buy them out west and have them shipped in here.
It's like the cattle, you grow them here and you ship them out west. Well, the same way. But I'll talk to Brian. We'll reach out.
I just
to
have a
the
meeting with
companies.
Yeah, I think a lot of the problem is maybe the pressure switches, because I think it goes up to 1,800 pounds every time. And then if it don't, then you've got a little, I think it's the blue light comes on at 80%, then the yellow light comes on at 100% full. But if that pressure switch is not working correctly, then you're saying it's full at 800 pounds, which you may have 2 to 4 ton on it.
Now, and I don't mean to speak for Brian, on those lights, this is part of OSHA. You can't push them to the max capacity on compression. It's just like putting everything in a wall and in a bottle and then putting the pressure on it. What will happen at the outer end, we know what's going to happen. It's going to push it through at a certain point. Those hydraulics, when they go through that tube and push that trash, it's either going to compact or it's going to stop. So what I'm trying to say, there's a safety range there on those compactions. Now I'll check with Brian to make sure that we're going at the maximum ones. But here's the thing: as we do get the additional parts in and the additional sites in, maybe we'll take a look at that. But right now, OSHA does come around and review those. Now, like I said, I don't mean to speak for Brian, but we'll check it out. OSHA checks those out, and VACO comes in once a year. Believe it or not, our trash sites, as far as insurance, and this is another part of the cost that is not realized. On those disposal sites, when you go to compactors, our cost goes up as far as liability, because, and one of the things that you hear about on complaints is, well, there's a chute there, but that chute is there to protect somebody from going in. We have to put those up. We're putting one on Dogtown right now because they come around and they look at it, not from OSHA's perspective, also from safety, but also VACO goes around and makes sure you have those safety mechanisms in for your insurance. If you do not have them, you will pay for that chute one way or another. So it's better to be in compliance, have them tested, have the reports on them, because it's just like the transfer station with drinking water DQ, everybody up there looking. We have to stay within those. Even though we could push the equipment to do more, we're kind of regulated on the safety issues too. But we will look at it. Any more questions? Second highest in the county. No, they do not. She said they don't need it, they're sending it to Russell County. So when they come out through Drill, they come out through Van Sant, and they come through, and they do come to Rosedale. I mean, that's a straight shot to Abingdon. That's the quickest way. Anybody that drove knows that's the quickest way to go. The volume of traffic there, go day and night. And I know. The traffic count is high. Yeah, I do. I do. And they should have one at the foot of their mountain. Exactly. Actually, now that you say it, as many times I've drove the drill road over into Van Sant, I don't remember a trash site at all on there. Do you? I don't. I don't. I don't.
Well, they have pickup in Buck County, and they just added $10 per household, $10 a month to the fee.
They come through, and I mean our site attendants, they'll ask people, and that's why I was asking. I mentioned previously the county sticker. That way you don't have to feel or embarrass anybody, because we've got the people there and the county residents, and that way we don't have to ask them once we get all manned. That way we don't have to encroach and say offend anyone. Do you live in the county? Do you live out of the county? That is an issue too. So, well, when the sticker comes in, if we give one to every vehicle, they'll have it in their front window. When they pull up, the site attendant will be there. They'll all be manned, so they'll see it in the window. If they do not have it, then they can ask for an alternative ID. And if you really think about it, Mr. Christian, you won't have, once they know those are in place, it's almost like they know to come through with those in their window. Yes.
Any other budget? So you have it. We'll come back again. This is just a preliminary. We still have to wait on state and federal finalize their points. All right, with nothing more, our next item on the agenda is any citizens' comments. No one's out there? Okay, constitutional officers?
Anybody out there?
Nope. All right,
There's none.
matters with the board. Tim, you have anything?
No, ma'am.
All right, David?
No, ma'am.
Oris?
No.
Luann?
No, thank you.
And Carl?
No, ma'am.
All right, I don't either. All right, at this time, I'll ascertain a motion for adjournment. Our next meeting will be our regular meeting, May the 3rd, here. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Carl, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
David? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Nope.